Around 540 million years ago, during the Great Cambrian explosion of life, the first ancestors of the octopus appeared in the ancient seas. By comparison, human beings have only existed for about 3 to 4 million years, a brief moment in the long story of this planet. When scientists sequenced the octopus genome, they uncovered something extraordinary. The octopus carries more than 33,000 genes, while humans have only about 21,000. Even more remarkable is its unique ability to edit and adjust its own genes in order to adapt to the shifting world around it, a talent that lies far beyond our own biological reach. Inside its body, the octopus holds a structure unlike anything else in the animal kingdom. It has 3 hearts that keep its blue blood flowing, 9 brains that allow both independence and coordination, and 2 separate memory systems working together, so that each arm can act on its own while still remaining part of the whole. This combination of traits has made the octopus one of the most mysterious and captivating creatures the ocean has ever produced. Tonight, we will drift into the story of this ancient being, tracing its evolution across hundreds of millions of years, and discovering why it feels at once familiar and alien, as if it belonged to another world. Before we begin, I would love to know, where are you listening from, and what time of day is it for you? Share your moment with me, and if you find this journey fascinating, remember to subscribe, so that together we can continue exploring the hidden histories of the deep. In the far reaches of Earth's past, long before the continent settled into the familiar outlines we know today, the ocean stretched endlessly, covering most of the planet. These waters were not yet the blue tropical seas of postcards, but strange and restless places, alive with unfamiliar shapes. It was here, more than 500 million years ago, that the earliest ancestors of the octopus began their long journey through time. They were fragile, soft-bodied creatures, yet destined to become some of the most extraordinary beings the world would ever know. To understand the origins of the octopus, we need to step back into the Cambrian period, around 540 million years ago. This was a moment of explosive creativity in nature, when life seemed to surge forth in countless new forms. Known as the Cambrian explosion, it gave rise to an astonishing variety of creatures, many of which have no modern descendants. Trilobites with armored shells crawled across the seafloor, primitive fishes darted in the shallows, and strange animals with spiny bodies and unfamiliar limbs filled the water. In this ancient ocean, the ancestors of the cephalopods appeared, beginning as little more than mollusks with shells, yet already carrying the potential for something far more advanced. The first of these cephalopods resembled nautiluses, with coiled shells that protected their soft bodies inside. The shell gave them buoyancy, allowing them to rise and sink in the water, and also shielded them from predators. But the shell was also heavy and limiting. It tied them to certain ways of living, reducing their flexibility, slowing their movements, and making them vulnerable to the faster predators that were beginning to appear. Over millions of years, some of these creatures began to abandon their armor. By shedding the burden of the shell, they gained freedom. They became lighter, faster, and more agile. It was a risky transformation, leaving them exposed, but it opened the door to entirely new possibilities of survival. Imagine the seas of that time. The continents were not as they are now, and the atmosphere carried less oxygen. The waters were darker, filled with silt and minerals, sometimes green with plankton blooms. Predators lurked everywhere, each competing for survival in a world that was still experimenting with design. In this harsh environment, the soft-bodied cephalopods evolved a remarkable set of tools. They developed tentacles, flexible limbs that could grasp, explore, and manipulate their surroundings. They gained ink sacs, a chemical defense that could cloud the water and hide them from enemies. They refined their eyes, becoming some of the earliest animals to see the world with sharp clarity. These changes gave them an edge that would carry their descendants far into the future. As the Paleozoic era unfolded, the cephalopods thrived. They were among the first true predators of the open ocean, hunting smaller creatures with speed and cunning. Some grew large, their shells stretching several feet in length, while others remained small and nimble. With every generation, they became more sophisticated, their nervous systems growing more complex, their behaviors more adaptive. When mass extinction struck, waves of catastrophe that wiped out vast swaths of life, they endured. When climates shifted and seas rose or fell, they adapted. This resilience, the ability to bend without breaking, became one of their defining qualities. To picture their world is to imagine a landscape utterly alien. On the ocean floor, coral-like reefs rose in jagged towers, while strange worm-like creatures tunneled in the sediment. Above them swam armored fishes, with mouths like crushing plates, and early sharks, sleek and hungry. Ammonites and belemnites, ancient cousins of the octopus, filled the seas with their spiral shells and dart-shaped bodies. They were elegant and efficient, but unlike the octopus, they still relied heavily on the safety of their shells. The path of the octopus was different. It was the path of vulnerability, of soft bodies relying on quick wits and adaptability instead of armor. This choice, made countless generations ago, shaped the destiny of the octopus. By giving up their shells, they were forced to evolve in other directions. They became masters of camouflage, learning to change color and texture in an instant to match rocks, sand, or coral. They became explorers of every crevice, able to squeeze their boneless bodies into the smallest gaps. And slowly, they began to develop intelligence. Their nervous systems grew larger, their senses sharper, until they reached a level of awareness far beyond most other invertebrates. In the darkness of the ocean, thought was beginning to take shape. Through the Devonian, the Carboniferous, and beyond, the cephalopods continued to flourish. They saw the rise of fish with jaws, the spread of early forests along the shorelines, and the long ages of amphibians that ventured onto land. They saw extinction after extinction, events so devastating that entire lineages vanished forever. Yet, somehow, the ancestors of the octopus always found a way to endure. Their history is not a straight line, but a branching tree, with many forms appearing and disappearing, each leaving traces in the fossil record. Still, the core lineage continued, carrying forward the traits that would define the octopus: flexibility, adaptability, intelligence, and mystery. When we look back at this ancient chapter, we can see how fragile survival was. The world was unstable, the climate often harsh, and predators everywhere. Yet, the cephalopods did not just survive, they thrived. They were inventors of strategies, masters of change, and pioneers of the deep. Their story reminds us that sometimes vulnerability can be a source of strength. By giving up their armor, they unlock the possibility of a more profound evolution, one that would lead to creatures with 9 brains, 3 hearts, and an intelligence so alien that it still humbles us today. As we drift deeper into their history, we begin to sense the quiet persistence of the ocean itself. It holds the memory of every life form that has ever swum in its depths. And within that memory, the cephalopods stand as a testament to endurance. They began as fragile mollusks with shells, but became something far greater. The enigmatic, shape-shifting octopuses, whose journey through time is still unfolding in the shadows of the sea. When we move forward through the long corridors of time, we arrive in an era when giant reptiles ruled the land, when forests of conifers and ferns spread across the continents, and when the seas themselves teemed with forms both familiar and strange. This was the age of the dinosaurs, and although they never set foot in the waters where the ancestors of the octopus lived, their world was deeply connected. The oceans were the stage for their own dramas, where cephalopods, fish, and marine reptiles struggled in a constant cycle of survival. The octopus lineage had already been in existence for millions of years by the time dinosaurs rose to prominence. Their relatives, the ammonites and belemnites, were abundant, filling the seas with their spiraled shells and dart-shaped bodies. Ammonites, with their intricate coils, were perhaps the most recognizable cephalopods of this age, some growing to enormous sizes, large enough to rival the predators that hunted them. They drifted and darted through the water, their shells providing buoyancy and protection, their tentacles reaching outward to grasp passing prey. In contrast, the early octopuses followed a different path. Unlike the ammonites, they had no protective shells. They lived soft-bodied lives, relying on camouflage, speed, and flexibility to survive. The absence of armor might have seemed a disadvantage, especially in a world where predators grew larger and stronger with every passing epoch. But it was this very vulnerability that gave the octopus its edge. Where ammonites were eventually doomed by their dependence on shells, octopuses thrived by embracing adaptability. Imagine the seas during the Mesozoic era. Schools of fish shimmered like living silver, hunted by swift marine reptiles such as ichthyosaurs, whose streamlined bodies made them look like dolphins of another world. Long-necked plesiosaurs glided gracefully, their heads darting forward to snatch fish and squid. Massive mosasaurs with jaws filled with teeth dominated the later oceans, fierce hunters capable of swallowing prey whole. Among these leviathans swam the cephalopods, weaving their own stories in the shadow of giants. The ammonites were everywhere. Their fossilized shells are so abundant today that geologists use them to measure time itself, marking the layers of stone with their presence. Belemnites, too, were common, their bullet-shaped shells helping them dart swiftly through the water. Together, they formed a vast population, filling niches across the seas. Yet, for all their abundance, their fates were tied to their armor. When conditions changed, when oceans became less favorable, they could not adapt as quickly as their shell-less relatives. The early octopuses, though rare in the fossil record because their soft bodies left little trace, survived silently in the background. They slipped into crevices, hiding from predators. They changed their colors to blend with the sand or coral, vanishing before the eyes of hunters. They laid their eggs in hidden places, guarding them carefully until the young were ready to emerge. And when danger came, they released clouds of ink, a chemical shadow that allowed them to vanish like ghosts into the darkness. These were not dramatic strategies, but they were effective. Slowly, through millions of years, the octopuses refined their way of life. The age of dinosaurs was also an age of shifting oceans. Continents drifted apart, creating new seas and cutting off old ones. Currents shifted, climates warmed and cooled, and ecosystems reshaped themselves again and again. Ammonites responded with bursts of diversity, evolving new shapes and forms. Some developed tightly coiled shells, others loose spirals, and still others bizarre patterns with ridges and spines. Each adaptation reflected an attempt to fit into the ever-changing environment. But while ammonites adapted in shape, octopuses adapted in behavior. They became masters of problem-solving, of exploring their world in subtle ways that shells could never provide. In this contrast lies the secret of their survival. Ammonites were trapped by their shells, bound to the evolutionary path they had chosen. When disaster struck at the end of the Cretaceous, when a massive asteroid collided with Earth and sent shockwaves of destruction through land and sea, the ammonites perished. Their long, successful dynasty ended in a geological instant. But the octopuses endured. They had no shells to weigh them down, no rigid armor to limit their possibilities. They adapted to the new world as they always had. It is haunting to think of the oceans just after the asteroid impact. The skies darkened with dust and ash, blocking the sun for months, perhaps years. The seas grew colder, plankton populations crashed, and food chains collapsed. Ammonites, dependent on those food chains and unable to adapt quickly, vanished. But in the hidden corners of the ocean, octopuses continued. They adjusted their diets, their behaviors, and their habitats, slipping through the cracks of catastrophe. In this way, the octopus outlived the dinosaurs. While the great reptiles of land and sea disappeared, while ammonites and belemnites left behind only fossils, the octopuses swam on. Their story is not written in stone as clearly as that of their shelled cousins, but it is etched in survival. Every modern octopus carries within it the legacy of that endurance, the quiet triumph of adaptability over rigidity. To close your eyes and imagine this world is to see an ocean full of contrasts. There are massive creatures with bones and teeth, armored forms with heavy shells, and then there is the octopus, small, soft, almost invisible, yet destined to outlast them all. It is a reminder that in nature, strength does not always come from size or armor. Sometimes it comes from the ability to change, to blend, to think in ways that others cannot. The age of dinosaurs belongs to the past, but the octopus remains. Its ancestors watched the rise and fall of ammonites, the reign of marine reptiles, and the catastrophic end of an era. And still, in the quiet depths of the sea, they endure, their bodies pulsing with 3 hearts, their arms guided by 9 brains, their presence a whisper from a time when the oceans were ruled by giants. This chapter in their history is one of shadows and resilience. It tells us that survival is not always about being the strongest or the most numerous. It is about adaptation, about embracing change, and about finding ways to persist when the world itself seems to collapse. The octopus, in its silence, reminds us of this truth, carrying forward the memory of an age-long vanish, swimming still in the dark waters of today. When we think of intelligence on Earth, our thoughts often turn first to ourselves. We measure the world through the human mind, through memory and language, through invention and imagination. But intelligence is not a crown that belongs to humanity alone. In the hidden chambers of the sea, another story of intelligence has been unfolding for hundreds of millions of years. It is the story of the octopus, a creature that chose a different path from shells and armor, and in doing so, built a brain that rivals the brilliance of much larger and longer-lived animals. The origins of octopus intelligence are tied to the vulnerability of their bodies. Without a shell to protect them, octopuses had to rely on other defenses. They became masters of disguise, blending seamlessly with rocks, sand, or coral in a heartbeat. This ability required not only remarkable skin, but also remarkable perception. To change their color and texture so precisely, they had to see the world with great accuracy and interpret it almost instantly. Their eyes became keen, their nervous systems more complex, and their brains grew to process the constant stream of information. The octopus nervous system is unlike that of any other animal. At its center lies a large brain capable of learning, remembering, and problem-solving. But this is only part of the story. Each of the 8 arms carries a cluster of neurons, sometimes referred to as a mini-brain, allowing the arms to act with a degree of independence. This arrangement creates a network of 9 brains in total, 1 central and 8 peripheral. It is as if the body itself thinks alongside the brain, each arm exploring, deciding, and responding while still connected to the larger whole. This decentralized intelligence gives the octopus a unique form of awareness. An arm reaching into a crevice can sense, grasp, and manipulate objects without waiting for instructions from the central brain. It can even continue certain movements after being severed, a haunting reminder of how deeply intelligence is embedded in their limbs. At the same time, the central brain integrates these actions, coordinating the arms, guiding the body, and shaping behavior. It is not intelligence as we know it, but something alien. A distributed mind that blurs the boundary between brain and body. Over evolutionary time, this system became more refined. Octopuses developed memory, not only for their surroundings, but for experiences. In laboratory settings, they have been observed to recognize individual humans, remembering who treats them kindly and who does not. They can learn to solve puzzles, opening jars, navigating mazes, and even manipulating objects with an almost playful curiosity. In the wild, these skills serve them in more practical ways, escaping predators, ambushing prey, and exploring environments as diverse as coral reefs, rocky shores, and the abyssal depths. Their intelligence is also expressed in behavior. Some octopuses have been seen carrying coconut shells across the seafloor, later assembling them into shelters. Others pile rocks at the entrances of their dens, creating barriers against intruders. They can stalk crabs with a patience that suggests planning, using their arms to cut off escape routes before striking. They even engage in deceptive displays, mimicking the shapes and movements of other animals, such as lionfish or flatfish, to confuse predators or prey. Perhaps most striking is the evidence of play. In aquariums, octopuses have been observed repeatedly releasing and retrieving objects, such as toys or bottles, seemingly for no reason other than enjoyment. This behavior suggests not just intelligence, but curiosity, a desire to explore the world beyond immediate survival. It is a quality we often associate with higher mammals, dolphins, elephants, and primates, yet here it is, alive in a creature so different from ourselves. The evolutionary advantage of such intelligence is clear. For a short-lived, soft-bodied animal, survival depends on creativity. Unlike turtles or whales, octopuses do not live for decades or centuries. Many species live only 1 or 2 years, a fleeting lifespan in which they must grow, learn, reproduce, and die. To make the most of such limited time, they must be quick learners, capable of adapting instantly to new challenges. Their intelligence is compressed, focused, and efficient, honed by the urgency of survival. The 2 memory systems within their bodies reflect this need. One system manages habit and reflex, ensuring that basic survival behaviors happen automatically. The other handles more complex learning, allowing them to adapt to changing circumstances. Together, these systems create a balance of instinct and innovation, a harmony of old and new that lets them thrive in a world that is never stable. When we compare the octopus to other intelligent animals, we see both parallels and divergences. Like crows and dolphins, they are problem solvers. Like elephants, they appear to have long memories. But unlike any of these creatures, they come from a lineage entirely separate from ours. Their last common ancestor, with humans, was a small, worm-like creature that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. Everything that followed, their eyes, their nervous system, their intelligence, evolved independently. This makes octopus intelligence not just remarkable, but alien, a second experiment in the evolution of mind. In many ways, studying octopuses challenges our understanding of what intelligence truly means. We often measure it by our own standards, language, tools, technology. But the octopus reminds us that intelligence is broader than that. It can emerge in silence, in solitude, in the quiet exploration of the seafloor. It can take forms that are unfamiliar, distributed across limbs, expressed in colors and patterns, enacted through fluid motion rather than spoken words. It is humbling to realize that while dinosaurs ruled the land and ammonites ruled the seas, the octopus was quietly evolving a brain that would one day rival our own in complexity. It survived catastrophes, adapted to change, and carried forward its alien intelligence into the present day. Now, as we look into the eyes of an octopus, we glimpse not just a creature of flesh and water, but a mind that has walked a very different path, yet arrived at a place strangely close to our own. As we continue this journey through their history, the story of the octopus becomes not just a tale of survival, but a meditation on the possibilities of thought itself. Intelligence is not the sole possession of humanity, nor even of mammals. It is a thread woven through the fabric of life, appearing in unexpected places, in unexpected forms, reminding us that the universe of mind is far larger and stranger than we have ever imagined. Since the dawn of seafaring, humans have gazed into the ocean with a mixture of awe and fear. The surface of the sea may look calm, but beneath it lies a realm unknown, filled with darkness and mystery. Long before science revealed the truth of the octopus, sailors and storytellers filled that darkness with legends. These myths, passed down through generations, reveal as much about the human imagination as they do about the creatures of the deep. And among all the beings said to inhabit the ocean, the octopus, soft-bodied, many-armed, elusive, became one of the most powerful symbols of the sea's hidden terror. The Greeks were among the first to weave the octopus into their stories. In their art and pottery, they often painted creatures with curling arms, sprawling in intricate patterns that seemed almost alive. To them, the octopus represented the shifting, unpredictable nature of the sea. Its arms reached in every direction, just as the waves themselves could turn calm waters into chaos without warning. Greek sailors feared encounters with giant cephalopods, creatures large enough to pull ships under. They imagined the octopus not just as an animal, but as a force of nature, a reminder that the sea could never be fully mastered. In Roman times, the octopus also carried symbolic weight. Writers described it with both fascination and dread, marveling at its ability to move silently, to change shape, and to vanish in clouds of ink. Pliny the Elder, in his Natural History, recounted stories of enormous octopuses raiding fish ponds, snatching away catches, and even attacking divers. Whether or not these tales were exaggerated, they reflected a growing awareness of the octopus as a cunning and almost supernatural being. It was not just another sea creature, it was something other, something that blurred the line between fact and myth. Far to the north, the Vikings carried their own legends across the stormy waters of the Atlantic. Among them rose the tale of the Kraken, a monstrous sea beast said to be large enough to sink ships with a single grasp. Sailors spoke of waters boiling as the Kraken surfaced, of whirlpools dragging vessels down, of arms like trees rising from the deep. Though often described as more monstrous than natural, the Kraken was almost certainly inspired by sightings of giant squid and perhaps large octopuses, glimpsed briefly before vanishing back into the abyss. For sailors navigating uncharted seas, such creatures embodied the ever-present danger of the deep. These myths were not only born of fear, but also of the limited knowledge of the time. The ocean was largely unknown, its depths unreachable. A brief glimpse of a tentacle, a strange shape in the water, or an encounter with a washed-up carcass could easily become the seed of a legend. Over time, these seeds grew into powerful stories, retold around fires, in taverns, and on the decks of ships. They became warnings as well as entertainments, reminders of the dangers that lurked where light could not reach. In Japan, the octopus took on a more complex role. Known as tako, it appeared in folklore, art, and even erotic symbolism. Japanese fishermen respected the octopus for its strength and cunning, telling tales of divers ensnared by its arms. Yet, in ukiyo-e woodblock prints, the octopus also appeared as a figure of playfulness and seduction, its arms entwined in fantastical ways. This duality, fearsome predator on one hand, playful trickster on the other, reflects the richness of human imagination when confronted with something so alien. The octopus was never just an animal. It was a mirror for human desires, fears, and dreams. Across the Pacific, Polynesian cultures also wove the octopus into myth. In Hawaiian tradition, the octopus, or Hei'e, was sometimes said to be a survivor from a previous world, a creature that endured from an earlier creation. This idea that the octopus belonged to an older hidden age resonates strangely with what science tells us today. That the lineage of the octopus is indeed ancient, stretching back hundreds of millions of years. For the Polynesians, who lived in close connection with the sea, the octopus was not only a being of mystery, but also of deep time, a reminder of the ocean's eternal cycles. Stories of sea monsters appear in nearly every culture that lived near water. In the Mediterranean, in Scandinavia, in Asia, in the islands of the Pacific, the shape of the monster often took the form of something with many arms, something that could seize and drag down. And always, at the heart of these stories, there is an echo of the octopus. Its very form, fluid, shifting, hard to define, invited imagination. Unlike a fish or a whale, it had no rigid shape. It could flow like water, vanish like smoke, and appear suddenly with arms outstretched. Such a creature seemed to belong as much to the realm of dreams as to reality. As centuries passed, the legends of the octopus continued to evolve. In the 19th century, as sailors explored further into the world's oceans, tales of giant cephalopods re-emerged with new force. Writers like Victor Hugo and Jules Verne gave them shape in literature. In 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Verne's giant squid, though fictionalized, drew upon real fears of monstrous, tentacled beasts. To readers, the image of sailors battling enormous arms was thrilling, terrifying, and unforgettable. Even as science advanced, the myth of the octopus as a monster of the deep retained its grip on the human imagination. What is striking about all these myths is how they blend fear and fascination. The octopus was never simply evil or simply wondrous. It was both, a reminder of the beauty and danger of the unknown. Sailors feared being dragged beneath the waves, but they also marveled at the strangeness of the creature itself. Artists and poets used it as a symbol of mystery, of the subconscious, of forces too vast to be controlled. In every culture, the octopus became a vessel for human emotion, embodying the eternal tension between curiosity and dread. Today, with submarines, cameras, and science, we know more about the octopus than ever before. We understand its anatomy, its intelligence, its place in evolution. And yet, the old myths still echo. When we see an octopus glide through the water, arms trailing like ribbons of shadow, there is still a flicker of something primal in our response. It feels otherworldly, uncanny, almost magical. In that moment, we can understand why sailors once whispered of krakens, why Greeks painted curling tentacles, why Japanese artists gave it a playful soul, and why Polynesians saw in it a being from another age. The legends remind us of how humans once filled the unknown with imagination, and how the octopus, more than most creatures, invited that imagination to run wild. It is a creature born of the sea, but also born of stories, living both in the depths of the ocean and in the depths of the human mind. And as we drift deeper into its history, we carry those myths with us, even as we search for the truth that lies beneath. In the vast and varied traditions of the East, the octopus occupies a place that is both strange and familiar. Unlike the fierce sea monsters of the North or the terrifying kraken of European sailors, the octopus in Eastern cultures often carried more layers of meaning. It was feared, admired, mocked, and even celebrated, appearing not only as a creature of the sea, but as a symbol in art, literature, and daily life. These interpretations reveal a different way of seeing the animal, not merely as a monster of the deep, but as a mirror of human imagination and experience. In Japan, the octopus, known as taco, has long been a creature of fascination. Fishermen told stories of giant octopuses lurking beneath coastal waters, waiting to ensnare divers with their powerful arms. In some tales, the octopus became a trickster, outsmarting humans with its intelligence and escape skills. In others, it was a predator, dragging the unwary beneath the waves. Yet alongside these fearful images, there was also a playful, even humorous view of the octopus. Japanese folklore often portrays it as a creature with personality, capable of mischief, curiosity, and charm. This duality is most clearly seen in Japanese art. During the Edo period, woodblock prints, or ukiyo-e, frequently depicted octopuses. Some showed them as sea creatures wrapped around fishermen or divers, their curling arms rendered in elegant patterns. Others used the octopus as a playful or erotic symbol, intertwining it with human forms in ways that blurred the line between the natural and the fantastical. One of the most famous examples is Hokusai's print The Dream of the Fisherman's Wife, which shocked some and fascinated others with its boldness. Though controversial, it reveals how the octopus could serve as a metaphor for desire, for the entanglements of human longing, and for the mysterious power of the sea itself. The octopus also found its way into Japanese literature and theater. Kabuki plays sometimes referenced it as a creature of both danger and comedy. Children's tales, too, made use of the octopus as a mischievous character, one that could fool fishermen or escape traps with ease. These stories reflected the close relationship between coastal communities and the sea, where the octopus was both a source of food and a source of endless stories. It was never only a monster, it was part of everyday life, woven into the fabric of culture. In China, the octopus appeared less frequently in legend, but it was not absent. Ancient Chinese natural histories mention sea creatures with many arms, describing their strange forms with both curiosity and caution. In some regions, the octopus was associated with cleverness and resourcefulness, admired for its ability to escape danger and adapt to its surroundings. Folklore sometimes portrayed it as a shapeshifter, able to take on human form or to trick sailors. These stories reflected a broader Chinese tradition of seeing animals as symbols of deeper truths, less as monsters to be feared and more as beings that held hidden wisdom. The octopus also entered the realm of Chinese medicine and cuisine. It was valued not only as a delicacy, but also as a creature with supposed health benefits. Eating octopus was thought in some traditions to strengthen vitality and energy, a belief that reflected its strength and flexibility. In markets and coastal towns, the octopus was a common sight, its arms coiling in buckets of water, a living reminder of the sea's abundance. Its presence in daily life made it less mythical, perhaps, but no less significant. Across Southeast Asia, the octopus appeared in stories of the sea as well. In the Philippines, for example, fishermen's tales included accounts of giant octopuses living in underwater caves, waiting to seize fish or even unlucky divers. In Indonesia, myths spoke of sea creatures with many arms as guardians of certain reefs or islands, protectors of the ocean's hidden treasures. These stories were often warnings, cautionary tales meant to remind people of the dangers of the deep, but they also expressed respect. The octopus was not simply a threat, it was part of the natural order, a being to be acknowledged and honored. In Hawaii and other parts of Polynesia, the octopus, known as Hei'e, was tied to creation myths. Some traditions described it as a survivor from a previous world, a relic of an earlier age. According to one legend, the octopus is the last living creature from a past universe that was destroyed, making it a link between worlds. This belief gives the octopus an almost timeless quality, as if it carries within its soft body the memory of ages long gone. For island cultures deeply connected to the sea, this made the octopus a powerful symbol of continuity, endurance, and the mysteries of existence itself. What is striking about these Eastern traditions is the richness of interpretation. The octopus was not confined to a single role. It could be a predator, a trickster, a symbol of desire, a guardian, or a relic of a lost world. It was feared for its strength, admired for its intelligence, enjoyed as food, and celebrated in art. This flexibility reflects the nature of the octopus itself, fluid, adaptable, impossible to pin down. Just as it can change its color and shape in an instant, so too could its meaning shift in the human imagination. Even today, echoes of these traditions remain. In Japan, octopus festivals celebrate the creature with parades, dances, and food. In coastal villages across Asia, fishermen still share stories of encounters with octopuses, passing down tales of cunning escapes and strange behaviors. In art and popular culture, the octopus continues to appear, sometimes as a playful character, sometimes as a symbol of the unknown. It remains, as it has always been, both real and mythic, both ordinary and extraordinary. When we place these Eastern perspectives alongside the myths of the West, a fascinating contrast appears. In the West, the octopus often became a monster of terror, a symbol of destruction. In the East, it became more ambiguous, a creature of danger, yes, but also of humor, art, wisdom, and endurance. This difference reminds us that myth is shaped not just by the creature itself, but by the people who tell the story. The octopus, ever adaptable, allowed itself to become many things to many cultures. As we drift deeper into this tale, we can feel how the octopus lives not only in the sea, but also in the human mind. It is a creature of shadows and stories, of feasts and festivals, of myths that bind us to the waters we depend upon. In the East, it became a companion as much as a threat, a being that reflects the complexity of life itself. And even as we learn more about it through science, the old stories still whisper. They remind us that the octopus is not just an animal of flesh and blood. but a symbol of mystery, transformation, and the endless dance between fear and wonder. For much of human history, the octopus remained a creature of rumor, myth, and fleeting glimpses. Sailors saw curling arms rising from the water and imagined monsters. Artists carved patterns of tentacles on pottery, weaving them into designs that suggested mystery and fear. But with the arrival of the modern age, when naturalists began to observe, record, and study the living world in detail, the octopus slowly shifted from legend to subject of science. Its story became not just one of myth, but of discovery, a tale of patient observation and ever-deepening wonder. In the early 19th century, natural history was becoming a popular pursuit. Scholars and explorers traveled the seas, bringing back specimens of plants and animals for study. Among them were octopuses, often carried alive in tanks or preserved in jars. At first, these creatures puzzled researchers. Their bodies were so unlike the vertebrates that naturalists understood best. Soft, boneless, shape-shifting, with arms that seemed to have minds of their own, the octopus did not fit neatly into the categories of science. Some thought of it as a lowly mollusk, little more than a snail without a shell. Others suspected there was far more to its story. As marine biology developed, researchers began to notice the extraordinary features of the octopus. They studied its 3 hearts, each pumping blue copper-based blood through its veins. They examined its eyes, which rival the complexity of human eyes, yet evolved entirely separately. They marveled at its ability to change color and texture with astonishing speed, using skin cells called chromatophores, iridophores, and leucophores. These discoveries revealed a creature far more sophisticated than anyone had imagined. In aquariums and laboratories, scientists observed octopuses with growing fascination. They watched as the animals unscrewed lids from jars to reach food inside, an ability that demonstrated problem-solving skills rare in invertebrates. They documented how octopuses could recognize individual researchers, showing signs of memory and even preference. Some octopuses seemed to enjoy certain people while squirting jets of water at others. These behaviors suggested not just instinct but personality, a quality almost unheard of in animals without backbones. By the mid-20th century, the octopus had become a subject of serious neurological research. Scientists mapped its nervous system, discovering the decentralized network of neurons spread through its arms. They realized that more than half of the octopus's neurons are located outside its central brain, giving its arms the ability to move and react independently. This discovery challenged traditional ideas of intelligence, showing that cognition could be distributed throughout the body rather than concentrated in a single organ. The octopus forced science to reconsider what a brain could be. Advances in technology opened even more windows into the octopus's world. Submarines and deep-sea cameras captured footage of species living far below the surface, in places humans could not reach. These glimpses revealed a stunning diversity: tiny octopuses no larger than a thumb, enormous deep-sea species with arms stretching meters long, delicate forms drifting like shadows, and compact hunters stalking the seafloor. Each discovery reminded us of how little we truly knew. The ocean, vast and secretive, still held surprises, and the octopus was one of its greatest. One of the most astonishing revelations came from genetics. When researchers sequenced the octopus genome, they found more than 33,000 genes, far more than the 21,000 or so carried by humans. Even more remarkable was the octopus's ability to edit its RNA, a process that allowed it to adapt its proteins to changing environments. This meant that the octopus could adjust its biology in ways most animals could not, a form of flexibility written into its very code. To scientists, this was another sign of how alien the octopus truly is, a creature that seems to rewrite its own instructions as it goes. The octopus also entered the realm of psychology and behavioral studies. Researchers set up experiments to test problem-solving, memory, and learning. In one study, octopuses learned to distinguish between shapes, remembering which ones led to rewards. In another, they navigated mazes, choosing the correct path again and again. In captivity, some octopuses showed curiosity about cameras and lights, reaching out to explore them with gentle arms. Others played with objects in their tanks, tossing and retrieving them as though in games. These behaviors confirmed what folklore had long hinted, that the octopus is more than instinct, it is a thinker. As science uncovered these truths, the octopus began to capture the imagination of the public in new ways. Documentaries showed them opening shells, blending into reefs, and slipping through impossibly small cracks. Writers and journalists described them as aliens of the deep, minds from another world living beside us on this one. The phrase, second intelligence on Earth, was sometimes used, a recognition that here was a creature whose mental life ran parallel to our own, but along a completely different evolutionary path. Even in modern times, surprises continue to emerge. In 2016, researchers discovered a species nicknamed Casper, a pale, ghostly octopus drifting at great depths near Hawaii. Its body was delicate, almost translucent, as if carved from mist. In 2020, scientists observed octopuses using tools, carrying shells and coconuts to build shelters on the seafloor. Cameras revealed octopuses gathering at hydrothermal springs, a place where warmth allowed their eggs to develop more quickly. Each finding adds another piece to the puzzle, yet the whole picture remains elusive. Perhaps what is most striking is how the octopus continues to blur the line between the familiar and the alien. Its intelligence feels recognizable. We see problem-solving, memory, even playfulness. Yet, its biology is utterly foreign. 3 hearts beat within its body, 9 brains guide its movements. 2 memory systems intertwine to manage its life. Its blood is blue, its skin a canvas of shifting patterns, its limbs thinking as much as feeling. It is as if nature ran a parallel experiment in consciousness, and the result was the octopus. Modern science has given us tools to study the octopus more deeply than ever before. Yet, the creature still resists full understanding. Its short lifespan makes long-term study difficult. Its solitary habits limit opportunities for observation. And the ocean itself, vast and dark, hides many of its secrets. Even today, there are likely species of octopus unknown to us, drifting silently in the abyss. But perhaps it is fitting that the octopus remains partly hidden. For all our microscopes, submarines, and genetic codes, the ocean still holds mysteries. And the octopus, ever adaptable, ever elusive, reminds us that wonder is not something to be solved completely. It is something to be carried with us, like a quiet companion, deep into the night. As we drift in thought, imagining this soft-bodied creature gliding through water, we feel the weight of centuries of discovery. From myths of monsters to scientific marvels, the octopus has traveled in our minds from terror to admiration. It has shown us that intelligence is not bound to form or lineage, that minds can grow in ways we never expected. And it whispers still from the darkness of the sea that there are truths waiting beyond our reach, truths that shimmer like light through water, just beyond the edge of sight. When humans looked into the ocean during times of conflict, they did not only see a source of food or mystery, they also saw inspiration. The octopus, with its remarkable body and alien intelligence, became a silent teacher for soldiers, engineers, and inventors. Its gifts were not weapons in the usual sense, but ideas, strategies, and adaptations that shaped human understanding of survival, warfare, and technology. During the Second World War, the ocean became a battlefield as well as a frontier of science. Submarines prowled beneath the waves, their steel hulls hiding from sonar and depth charges. In this secret world of shadows and silence, scientists searched for ways to hide, deceive, and outmaneuver the enemy. Some turned their attention to the octopus, a creature that had been practicing the art of concealment for millions of years. The octopus's camouflage is among the most sophisticated in nature, With a flicker of skin cells, it can change color, shifting from pale sand to mottled rock to coral red. It does not only change hue, but also texture, raising bumps or smoothing its skin to match its surroundings. To a passing predator or to a passing submarine, the octopus can vanish entirely, blending into its environment until it becomes invisible. This ability fascinated wartime researchers. If a soft-bodied animal could so perfectly disappear, might machines one day do the same? Scientists studied the mechanics of octopus skin, noting how specialized cells called chromatophores expanded and contracted to reveal pigments. They observed how layers of iridophores reflected light, creating shimmering illusions, and how leucophores scattered ambient color to complete the disguise. These discoveries inspired experiments in military camouflage, from patterned uniforms to paints designed to confuse enemy eyes. The octopus became a living blueprint for deception, a reminder that survival often depends on being unseen. Beyond camouflage, the octopus also demonstrated the power of flexibility. Its arms, supple and boneless, can curl, twist, and squeeze through spaces no rigid body could pass. For engineers designing submarines, underwater mines, or rescue equipment, this was a revelation. Machines of war were usually stiff, built from hard steel, but the octopus suggested another approach: softness as strength. In later decades, roboticists returned to this idea, creating soft robots modeled after octopus arms, able to bend and grip in ways traditional machines could not. These designs found uses not only in exploration, but in delicate tasks like surgery, where precision and flexibility were more valuable than brute force. The octopus also played an indirect role in intelligence and espionage. Its nervous system, so unusual, fascinated scientists seeking to understand reflexes, reactions, and decision-making under pressure. Military psychologists studied how octopuses solved problems, comparing them to human responses in stressful conditions. Could the distributed intelligence of the octopus teach lessons about resilience, about making decisions even when communication was broken? In a time when code breaking and quick thinking could turn the tide of war, these questions carried unusual weight. Even outside the battlefield, the octopus inspired invention. Its ink, a dark cloud that blinds predators, reminded chemists of smokescreens and signal flares. Its jet propulsion, sucking water into its mantle and expelling it in a burst, was a natural version of rocket thrust. Engineers studied this motion, imagining underwater vehicles that could move with the same sudden speed. In every corner of its body, the octopus seemed to hold a secret that humans could borrow. After the wars ended, research into octopuses continued, now with more peaceful goals. The same camouflage that inspired military uniforms began to influence design in art and fashion. The same flexibility that intrigued engineers led to new kinds of robotics, used in medicine and industry. The octopus's ability to manipulate its world with 8 arms encouraged new ideas in artificial intelligence, in machines that could learn and adapt rather than follow rigid instructions. Slowly, what had once been studied for war became a source of creativity for peace. Yet the story of the octopus in war is not only about technology, it is also about philosophy. Soldiers and scientists alike looked at this creature and saw a different way of surviving, not through strength alone, not through armor or weapons, but through intelligence, adaptation, and transformation. The octopus does not fight predators directly. It vanishes, confuses, distracts. It bends rather than breaks, and in doing so, endures. These lessons carried into human thinking, shaping strategies, and reminding us that sometimes the cleverest path to victory is not confrontation, but evasion. In more recent decades, as conflicts shifted from oceans to cyber networks, the octopus found new relevance. Security experts described hackers as digital octopuses, able to reach with many arms at once, probing for weaknesses. Military strategists spoke of octopus warfare, in which attacks came not from one direction, but from many, coordinated yet flexible. The metaphor lived on, showing how deeply the image of the octopus had entered the human mind. At the same time, biologists working with octopuses continued to uncover traits that seemed almost designed for innovation. Their short lifespans, often just 1 or 2 years, meant they had to learn quickly, mastering their environment in record time. This rapid adaptation made them models for resilience in uncertain conditions. Their distributed intelligence suggested ways to design networks that could survive even if parts were cut off, a concept valuable in both military and civilian systems. Their camouflage pointed the way to materials that could shift color on demand, from battlefields to building walls. Each discovery widened the bridge between biology and invention. Perhaps the most haunting image is that of the octopus in captivity during the war years. In quiet laboratories, far from the front lines, these creatures lived in tanks while men in uniforms observed them. Outside, battles raged across continents. Inside, an octopus reached with its arms, exploring glass walls, solving puzzles, blending into its surroundings. It knew nothing of the war beyond, yet in its movements lay ideas that would shape the very course of human conflict. The contrast is striking. A soft, silent animal in water, and a world of noise and destruction above. And yet, from that silence, lessons emerged. Today, when we think of war, we rarely think of the octopus, but its influence is still there, hidden in technologies, strategies, and metaphors. It reminds us that nature itself is a kind of teacher, offering designs and wisdom that humans have borrowed in times of need. The octopus, a creature that has survived for 500 million years, became for a brief moment a partner in human struggle, not by choice, but by the curiosity it inspired. And so, as we let our thoughts drift over this chapter, we see how the octopus connects the primal with the modern, the sea with the battlefield, the silent with the violent. It remains a being of mystery, but also of utility. Its lessons scattered across history like ripples on water. To study it is to see that even in war, even in our darkest inventions, we are guided by the soft, fluid movements of a creature that chose intelligence over armor, adaptation over resistance. And perhaps that, more than anything, is the true gift it has given us. The reminder that survival belongs not only to the strongest, but to the most adaptable, the most clever, and the most willing to change. In the modern age, the octopus has stepped out of the shadows of myth and into the daily life of people around the world. It is no longer only a creature of mystery, hiding in the depths, but also a presence in markets, kitchens, art, and popular imagination. This connection between humans and octopuses is complex, layered with admiration, fascination, and sometimes contradiction. We see them as food, as symbols, as scientific marvels, and as fellow beings deserving of respect. In many ways, the octopus reflects back to us our own relationship with the natural world, how we consume it, how we imagine it, and how we struggle to protect it. One of the most visible connections is culinary. In coastal regions across the Mediterranean, Asia, and beyond, the octopus has long been a part of traditional cuisine. In Greece and Italy, octopus is grilled or stewed, its tender flesh flavored with herbs, oil, and wine. In Japan, it is sliced thin for sushi or chopped into pieces for takoyaki, small balls of batter filled with octopus and cooked until golden. In Korea, sanakji is served with the tentacles still moving, a dish that shocks some but reflects the deep cultural roots of eating fresh, living food. For centuries, fishermen have brought octopuses to shore as part of their daily catch, and in doing so, wove the creature into the rhythms of human survival. Yet even as it appears on plates, the octopus also appears in art. Painters, sculptors, and designers are drawn to its form. 8 arms curling in graceful spirals, a body soft and fluid, eyes large and watchful. In jewelry, the octopus becomes a symbol of mystery and fluidity. In tattoos, it represents adaptability, resilience, and sometimes hidden strength. Its shifting shape and colors inspire fashion and design, reminding us that beauty often lies in what is strange. Where once it was painted on Greek pottery as a symbol of the sea, it now finds its way into modern canvases, street art, and even digital media. In popular culture, the octopus has become an icon of imagination. Films portray it as both monster and marvel. In classic horror and adventure stories, tentacled creatures rise from the deep to threaten ships or cities, their arms spreading wide in menace. Yet, in more recent portrayals, the octopus is often shown as curious, even endearing. Documentaries, such as My Octopus Teacher, captured the tender relationship between a filmmaker and a wild octopus, moving audiences with scenes of quiet trust and connection. Animated films and children's books reimagine the octopus as playful, clever, and sometimes comical, a character whose strangeness is softened into charm. These shifting portrayals reflect our shifting view, from fear to fascination, from monster to companion. Science, too, has deepened the bond. In laboratories, octopuses continue to reveal secrets about intelligence, memory, and adaptation. They challenge scientists to rethink the very definition of consciousness. How do we measure thought in a creature so different from ourselves? How do we recognize curiosity, play, or emotion in arms that think independently and a mind that does not speak? These questions are not only scientific but philosophical, forcing us to reflect on what it means to share a planet with other forms of intelligence. The octopus shows us that mind is not limited to mammals, nor to creatures that look or live like us. It is a wider, stranger phenomenon, scattered across the branches of life. At the same time, conservation has become a pressing issue. As fishing practices expand and oceans change, octopuses face new pressures. In some regions, overfishing threatens their populations. In others, pollution and warming waters alter their habitats. While many species remain abundant, the delicate balance of marine ecosystems is easily disrupted. Scientists and activists argue for more careful management, for fishing limits, and for greater recognition of the octopus as more than just a resource. The question arises, should a creature with such intelligence be treated like other seafood, or does its mind demand special consideration? This question is not theoretical. In recent years, some countries have begun to extend legal protections to octopuses, acknowledging their sentience. In the United Kingdom, for example, octopuses and other cephalopods have been recognized as beings capable of feeling pain and pleasure. This recognition has implications for how they are caught, kept, and studied. It reflects a growing awareness that intelligence and emotion are not human monopolies, and that respect must be given even to creatures once dismissed as alien or monstrous. The octopus also inspires technology in modern times. Engineers study its arms to design soft robots that can grip delicately and move with flexibility impossible for rigid machines. Materials scientists look to its skin for ideas about dynamic camouflage, fabrics that can change color or texture on demand. Its ability to squeeze through impossibly small gaps inspires new designs for exploration vehicles capable of maneuvering in tight or hazardous environments. In these ways, the octopus continues to shape human innovation, not only in war but in medicine, design, and exploration. For many people, however, the connection is more personal. Divers who encounter octopuses in the wild often describe a moment of contact, an arm reaching out, exploring a hand or camera, eyes meeting with a sense of recognition. These moments can be transformative, creating a bond between human and animal that lingers long after. The octopus does not speak, yet its movements communicate curiosity, caution, and sometimes trust. To touch an octopus is to touch something both familiar and alien, a reminder that intelligence can take forms beyond our imagination. In the modern world, where technology connects us more than ever, the octopus also connects us back to something older. It is a creature of deep time, carrying in its body the memory of hundreds of millions of years. It lived through the rise and fall of dinosaurs, the shattering of continents, and the countless extinctions that reshaped the Earth. And yet, here it is, alive in our oceans, appearing in our markets, on our screens, in our stories. To connect with the octopus is to connect with history itself, with the resilience of life in all its forms. As we think about this connection, we feel the contradictions. We admire the octopus for its intelligence, yet we eat it as food. We celebrate it in art, yet capture it in nets. We study it as a marvel, yet struggle to protect it from the damage we cause to the sea. These contradictions mirror our larger relationship with nature, one of dependence, fascination, and conflict. The octopus is not alone in this, but it embodies the paradox with unusual clarity. It is at once a delicacy and a symbol, a research subject and a cultural icon, a creature of the wild and a presence in our daily lives. In the end, the connection between humans and octopuses is not a single story, but many stories. It is the fisherman pulling one from the sea at dawn. It is the artist painting its arms in spirals of ink. It is the scientist watching it solve a puzzle in a tank. It is the child laughing at an octopus cartoon. It is the activist calling for its protection, the engineer designing machines in its image, the diver remembering the touch of its arm in the deep. Together, these stories form a tapestry, woven across cultures and generations, binding us to a creature that is at once strange and deeply familiar. And so, as we drift further into this narrative, we see the octopus not only as an animal of the ocean, but as a companion in the human story. It has lived beside us in our myths, our meals, our art, our science. It reflects the best and worst of how we engage with the natural world. Our curiosity, our creativity, our appetite, our neglect, and our growing sense of responsibility. To know the octopus is to know ourselves a little better, to see the mirror it holds in its alien eyes, and to wonder at the vast, tangled web of life that connects us all. When we look into the future, we often imagine machines, towering cities, and voyages into the stars. Yet there is another kind of vision, one that begins not with technology, but with the soft, shifting body of the octopus. This creature, older than our species by hundreds of millions of years, carries within it the possibility of futures we can barely imagine. Its alien intelligence, its strange biology, and its long history of survival all suggest that the story of the octopus is far from over. Instead, it may be only beginning to reveal its deeper meaning to us. Scientists often wonder what the next stage of octopus evolution might look like. Already, octopuses show remarkable adaptability. They thrive in shallow reefs and in the crushing depths of the abyss. They flourish in warm tropical waters and in icy seas near the poles. Their ability to change color, to edit their own RNA, and to explore the world with distributed intelligence gives them an edge in surviving environmental shifts. As climate change transforms the oceans, some predict that octopuses may adapt faster than many other creatures, perhaps even expanding into new habitats that once seemed unsuitable. Their flexibility, both physical and genetic, is a kind of blueprint for survival in an uncertain world. But the future is not only about survival, it is also about possibility. Philosophers and scientists alike have asked, what might happen if octopuses continued to evolve their intelligence? Already, they show problem-solving skills, memory, and curiosity. What if, given millions more years, they developed forms of communication as complex as language? What if they began to live longer, passing knowledge from one generation to the next? Some speculate that octopuses could become a second kind of intelligent civilization on Earth, a mirror to our own, living not on land, but in the sea. This idea may sound like science fiction, and in truth, it has inspired many stories of that kind. Writers imagine worlds where octopuses rise as thinkers and builders, where their cities are woven from coral and stone, where their arms craft tools in the silence of the deep. In some tales, they even reach into space, their flexible bodies becoming suited to weightless environments, their distributed minds thriving in places where human biology would falter. Such visions remind us that intelligence does not belong only to land-dwelling mammals. It is a pattern that could emerge anywhere, in any form, if given enough time. Science fiction has also asked another haunting question. What if the octopus is already the closest thing we have to alien life on Earth? Its body is so different from ours, its mind so decentralized, its genome so unusual, that some have half-joked it must have come from another planet. Of course, the truth is that octopuses are as earthly as we are, shaped by the same ancient forces. Yet their differences highlight the diversity of life, showing us that intelligence is not a single path, but a branching tree, with many routes leading to awareness. To imagine their future is to imagine the possibilities of consciousness itself. In more practical terms, the octopus may shape the future through technology. Already, engineers look to its arms for inspiration in robotics. Soft robots modeled after octopus limbs can bend, grip, and twist in ways rigid machines cannot, opening doors to medical tools, rescue devices, and deep-sea explorers. Its skin, with its instant camouflage, inspires research into dynamic fabrics and materials that could change color at will. Its ability to squeeze through narrow gaps suggests designs for flexible machines that can navigate tight or hazardous environments. As technology advances, the octopus may guide us into new realms of invention, teaching us once more how to survive not through strength, but through adaptability. There is also the question of ethics. As we learn more about the octopus's intelligence, society may begin to reconsider how we treat it. Some countries have already recognized octopuses as sentient beings capable of experiencing pain and pleasure. This recognition may grow, leading to new laws about how they are caught, studied, and even farmed. Octopus farming, proposed as a way to meet global demand for seafood, raises serious questions. Should creatures with such complex minds be raised in captivity for consumption? Or should their intelligence grant them a special status, one that demands greater respect? These debates may shape not only the future of the octopus, but the future of our relationship with all intelligent life. In another sense, the octopus may influence the future of how we see ourselves. For centuries, humans placed themselves at the top of the ladder of life, unique in thought and creativity. But the octopus challenges that view. It shows us that intelligence can arise in completely different forms, with no bones, no speech, no long lifespan, and yet with a mind capable of wonder. As artificial intelligence grows in our own society, the octopus provides a natural parallel. It suggests that intelligence does not need to look or act like ours to be real. In this way, it prepares us to recognize and respect minds that may not mirror our own, whether they are biological or artificial. The octopus also serves as a warning. Its survival depends on the ocean, and the ocean is under threat. Climate change, pollution, overfishing, and acidification all place pressure on marine life. If we fail to protect the seas, the future of the octopus may be one of decline rather than expansion. Its resilience is great, but not infinite. To imagine the octopus thriving in the future is also to imagine ourselves taking responsibility, preserving the waters that sustain not only them, but us as well. Yet even as we worry, there is hope. Octopuses have lived through mass extinctions before. They endured when ammonites vanished, when dinosaurs fell, when seas grew toxic, and skies darkened with ash. They are survivors by nature, inventors of escape, masters of change. It is possible that long after humans are gone, the octopus will still be gliding through the ocean's currents, carrying on its story in silence. And if one day another species comes to study the Earth, they may look into its eyes and see the memory of us reflected there. For now, the octopus continues to share this world with us. Divers meet them in shallow reefs, researchers study them in labs, children watch them on screens, and artists draw their arms in spirals of ink. They are part of our present as much as our past, part of our imagination as much as our science. Their future is intertwined with ours, not because we control it, but because we share the same fragile planet, the same uncertain tomorrow. As we close our eyes and drift into thought, we can picture that future in many forms. Perhaps the octopus becomes a teacher of technology, guiding our inventions. Perhaps it becomes a partner in conservation, reminding us of the seas we must protect. Perhaps it continues as it always has, silent and unseen, surviving beyond our reach, beyond our time. However it unfolds, the story of the octopus is a story still being written, a story that carries both warning and wonder, mystery and promise. And so, as the waters of tomorrow ripple before us, we leave this creature in its rightful place, not only in the depths of the sea, but in the depths of our imagination, where it will continue to inspire, to caution, and to remind us that intelligence and life take many shapes. The octopus, ancient and alien, fragile yet enduring, is a beacon of what the future might hold, not only for itself, but for all who dwell upon this blue planet. As we reach the end of this long journey, let us pause for a moment in the quiet of the sea. We have drifted through ages of stone and water, through myths and science, through war and wonder. Along the way, we have watched the octopus rise from its fragile beginnings in the Cambrian seas, survive the reign of the dinosaurs, outlast extinctions, and emerge as one of the most remarkable creatures still alive today. Its story is not just ancient, it is eternal, a thread that runs through the very fabric of life on this planet. The octopus reminds us of many things. It reminds us that vulnerability can be strength, that by giving up armor and hardness, one can gain adaptability and freedom. It reminds us that intelligence is not the privilege of humans alone, but a pattern that appears wherever life is willing to change, to experiment, to grow. It reminds us that the unknown need not be feared but embraced, for within mystery lies beauty, and within beauty lies truth. We have seen how the octopus inspired myths of monsters, legends of desire, and stories of survival. We have seen how it entered our kitchens, our art, our literature, and our dreams. We have seen how scientists study its arms and eyes, its skin, and its genome, searching for answers to questions far larger than the creature itself. And we have seen how it connects us as humans to the ocean, to the past, and to the future we are building. Now, as you rest, imagine the octopus once more in the still waters of the deep. Picture its body floating with ease, arms flowing like silk, eyes glowing softly with awareness. Around it, the ocean is dark, yet filled with quiet light. Each ripple carries echoes of time, echoes of ancient seas, of vanished worlds, of the endless persistence of life. The octopus glides silently, a keeper of memories, a traveler through ages, a companion to our imagination. Let this image stay with you as you drift into sleep. The three hearts of the octopus beat in rhythm with the slow pulse of the ocean. Its 9 minds reach outward, not with fear, but with curiosity, exploring the world as it comes. Its body, soft and strong, teaches us the lesson of survival through change. And its story, stretching back more than 500 million years, reminds us that we are all part of something larger, something enduring, something full of mystery. So close your eyes and breathe deeply. Let the weight of the day dissolve like ink in water. Let your thoughts float like arms in the current, free and unhurried. The ocean holds you now, calm and endless, carrying you gently toward rest. And in that vastness, the octopus continues its quiet dance, as it has for ages, as it will for ages more. Good night, traveler of stories. May the silence of the sea guide you into dreams, and may the memory of the octopus remind you that even in the darkest depths, there is life, there is wonder, and there is peace.